Greetings, everyone. Gleekon here again with another episode of Lore of Warcraft. On our last episode, we talked about Kel'Thuzad, how he became pretty much the Lich King Ner'zhul's number one, and how he has now kind of gotten a foothold and started laying the foundation for how the Scourge and the Forsaken will eventually arise. So stay a while and listen to this when it's called Thrall. And how could we do any story about building up to the Third War and World of Warcraft Beyond without talking about Thrall, the central figure in what the Horde is now? Even though he is no longer the current leader of the Horde and hasn't been for some time, he's still pivotal. Even in Shadowlands, he's running around doing things, helping out as a part of the cast of heroes. All right, here we go. South of Scholomance, the Alliance of Lordaeron continued funneling resources into its network of internment camps. Leadership over the prisons fell to a human noble named Adelis Blackmore, a distinguished veteran of the Second War. Privately, Adelis considered his position as warden of the internment camps to be an insult from the Alliance leadership. His father, Adolin Blackmore, had become a pariah for committing treason against Lordaeron years earlier. Adelis believed that the leaders still saw him as the son of a traitor and had burdened him with a thankless job that held no glory. And if you remember from either one of the novels or earlier Chronicle that we read, it is his goal to raise the orcs up and him be the leader of them so he can create another horde and use them to defeat the Alliance and make himself king. But Adelis, like his father, was a clever military strategist. He had a secret weapon in his possession that he believed could restore his rightful position within the Alliance. Just before the First War ended, Adelis Blackmore had stumbled across something astonishing. He had found a baby orc, alone and abandoned, lying in the snow next to his dead parents and some of the assassins who had killed them. Adelis had resisted his instinct to slay the creature right then and there, instead deciding to raise the orc. He named the orc Thrall and trained him to be a gladiator. Once Adelis had determined that the orc would not simply be a dumb brute, he began to teach him strategy, philosophy, and the finer points of leading others into battle. He often put Thrall to the test, throwing him into fights against numerous opponents. Fighting pits were a common feature in the internment camps, and the guards would force the orc prisoners to face each other in bloody combat. Adelis subjected Thrall to these gladiatorial arenas not just to improve his fighting skills. The man was a drunkard who liked to gamble on the outcomes of the matches. Thrall learned that his master was volatile, cruel, and occasionally brilliant. Adelis Blackmore's strategic thinking was complex, bold, yet fatally flawed from drink. He saw the imprisoned orcs as a potential army, and he intended for Thrall to become their leader, while remaining loyal to his human master, of course. Adelis planned to upend the Alliance and rule it himself, remaking the human kingdoms in his image. But his cruelty undermined any connection he might have had with the young orc. Thrall saw him not as a surrogate father, but as an arrogant, brutal master who would never let him know freedom. And so that kind of touches back on what we just talked about. The one friend Thrall had during his enslavement was a human named Taratha Foxton, who regarded him as a younger brother. She secretly maintained correspondence with the orc, and when Thrall was on the verge of succumbing to despair, she helped him escape the internment camp. And I think if you do the Culling of Stratholme, oh man, whatever the other one is in the Caverns of Time where you free Thrall, Taratha, I believe, is the one who you kind of interact with. Thrall evaded Adelis Blackmore's guards and found his... Oh wait, I skipped. The one friend Thrall had... No. Oh, she helped him escape. Thrall evaded Adelis Blackmore's guards and found his way into the nearby wilderness, chasing rumors that a clan of orcs was still living there. He first encountered Grommash Hellscream and the remnants of the War Songs, who recognized that this orphan was of the Frostwolf clan. They told him to travel to the Alterac Mountains where the Frostwolves were known to roam. When Thrall arrived, he found the Frostwolves and learned the truth about his parents, Durotan and Draka. They had stubbornly resisted the demonic corruption of the Horde, and they had paid for their defiance with their lives. He also learned that he had little in common with the Frostwolves or the rest of the orcs on Azeroth. Free or imprisoned, they had lived their lives as orcs. Thrall had been raised as something less, not a human, not even a despised orc. He had been groomed as a tool of conquest, nothing more. To rejoin his people, he would need to discover who they were and who he was. So that's pretty neat. So that's kind of the genesis of the Thrall story, and this is the Adelis Blackmore and his prized slave Thrall in Durnhold Keep with this boot on his neck. I'm not sure that I love this hairstyle Thrall's rocking right there. But yeah, so that's kind of like just basically the origin story of Thrall, which actually I think ties into the very final missions of Warcraft 3. This is gonna tie into that, and also to a book, The Lord of the Clans, which we'll talk about coming up here in the next episode or two. All right, we got this episode in the pipe, 5x5. I thank everybody so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you next time on Lore of Warcraft.